Hi everyone, Lynn here from XLN Fabrics. Let's have some fun today making pleated log cabin. Now this is one of my favourite things to do. I love it because you actually don't have to be careful about your seam allowance. You can use any kind of strips that you happen to have scraps for. It doesn't need to be quilted, so that makes it even more fun. And it's just a really enjoyable process. So what I've got today to show you is this quilt, which I absolutely love. I think it turned out great. I've used Amy Butler's Dreamweaver and Denise Schmidt's Eastern Range. Now, you can use anything you like, but I really love this combination. I think the colours really pop. So I'd like to show you how to make this block, and I'm sure you'll have fun with it. Now, the first thing you need to do is to choose 6 different fabrics for your block. Now, they can be light or dark, as long as there's contrast from one strip to the next. Don't be afraid to use large scale prints. They actually work really, really well. Checks work, little spots work, but you want to keep it interesting. And things like this that you might sort of think, oh, that looks a little bit too big to use in a strip, that actually work really well and give the block a lot of movement. So go through your scrap bag, find what you've got, but also cut out some of your favourites from your stash. What you're going to do is pre-cut all your strips to a certain size. Now, the centre is also important. Now, these can be all the same or they can be all different. If you have a charm pack, that works really well. They're 5 inches and this cuts 4.5. So it's a good way to use those charm packs up that you may have in your cupboard. Your centre square is cut 4.5 inches, and you're also going to cut a 4.5 inch square of iron-on pellon. Then iron it to the wrong side of your square. You'll be sewing your strips onto a foundation piece of fabric, and that can be anything, but I usually find something like this works well, that you can see a pencil line drawn on. Now you're going to cut a 12-inch square and take your ruler and draw a line corner to corner, and that's going to help you line up your strips as you sew. Now, another tip is that you can use anything you like really, and you can use up things for your foundation fabric. You won't actually be seeing it. But once again, make sure you can see your line drawn on, because that's really important. Now for your next step, take your centre square and place it exactly in the centre with your corners lining up with the pencil line. Now you want to pin that in place, and pin so that the heads of the pins are coming in towards the centre. You need to do this, otherwise the pins will get in the way of your sewing. Your next step is going to be sewing your first 2 strips on opposite sides of your centre square. Now I'm using different fabrics here because I thought it'd be fun to show you how different colours look. Now after you've sewn down your first side, you're going to fold it across so that it measures 1.5 inches from the fold to the raw edge. Now I like to put a little piece of tape on my ruler so that I've got a very quick visual of where my 1.5 inches is, and I'm less likely to fold it wrong. So fold it across and measure so that the fold is within your tape on your ruler. Then pin, with the pin heads again coming in towards the centre. And repeat for the strip on the other side. So measure and pin. The next step will be taking the opposite sides that are left for your round 2. Now you're going to sew them down again like you did before, fold across, and it will be 1.5 inches from your fold to your raw edge, but this time you don't need to measure. You need to put the corners of your strip exactly on your pencil line. Now this will keep you really square, so you need to be diligent about that you actually make them exactly on the pencil line. So you'll do the same for the opposite side. So you've sewn down here, you've made sure that it's the same length across this way. You fold, match it to the pencil line and pin. Again, I've showed you a different variety of fabrics just to give you a different idea of how things will look. Now you've completed round 1 all the way around 4 sides of your centre square. So you're up to the second round of fabrics. So you take the shortest ones and you sew them on the opposite sides. Now you need to make sure you start on the same side as your side 1 and 2 on your first round. Again, you're going to sew, fold, measure and pin. Just as you did before. And you're going to repeat the process for this side. When you have finished sewing on all your strips, you'll trim the block and sew around the edge with a narrow seam. Here is your finished block, and it should measure 10 inches including seam allowance. Now you can make as many blocks as you like. My quilt has 16 blocks, and once you've decided how many you want, you can just sew them in rows and then sew your rows together. Now that you've completed the top of your quilt, there's no need to quilt it because it has quite a lot of weight in there with all the fabric being folded. There's extra fabric. So all you need to do is place a piece of fabric for the backing and your quilt top, and then stitch in the ditch through each of the blocks. Finish off with the binding and you've done it. You've made a pleated log cabin quilt. You can purchase a variety of Denise Schmidt and Amy Butler fabrics from your local quilt and creative sewing store. So I hope you enjoy making this project, and happy sewing from XLN Fabrics.